Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Maureen. Maureen, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. So Maureen, when you got your official typing results, what was your exact op type?
So audio, Ti-Ne, consume, sleep, play, blast.
So you are an INTP and you have masculine SI and feminine FE.
Right.
Now, what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing back?
I was pretty relieved. It was pretty close to kind of the area that I was thinking I was in. I was just wanted to make sure that I wasn't seeing everything completely upside down. So it was pretty close to kind of what I was thinking. So
what were you thinking when you?
Well, I mean, I was reasonably certain I was either NT or ST, which would make sense with consume and sleep at the top, and that I was using TI as a savior. I did think I was a single observer, though. That one surprised me a little bit. But other than that, it was pretty close.
What kind of single observer did you think you were?
I really didn't know. I mean, I kind of came into it thinking that I'm probably an ENTP, maybe an INTP. But then the more I learned OP, I was like, well, I've got all this chaos struggles, so maybe I'm an IJ. So I was prepared to be surprised, I guess,
Gotcha. But I guess when you got your type back, you weren't that surprised.
Not too shocked, no.
No, okay. Do you agree though? Because if you thought that you were originally a single observer, that means your problem would be things, but it seems like your problem are people. So let's jump into that right away. And
yeah,
I feel like you have problems with tribe hate.
Well, I guess the way Shan explained it to me was that I blame the tribe for the problems, right? For the chaos, for the stuff coming into my life that I can't control or whatever. It's those darn people that are doing that to me.
Right.
Which is pretty true. I mean, if I really dig down there at the source, there's some human being that's making it happen. My boss is crazy. My husband won't get on board with things or whatever. There's always somebody at the root, No,
but it's kind of funny though, because the truth is it's probably both people and things, but you're supposed to tunnel vision on people. So that's kind of, I guess that's why you became a single observer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Right.
Now, as a double observer, are you relatively balanced with gathering and organizing information in general?
I think that I've become that way as I've gotten older. There was definitely more just a lot of consuming and a lot of observing taking place when I was younger, but I've, obviously begun to learn the importance for doing some organizing, having some structure, and it's gotten a lot better now. I'm 38, so I've had some time to learn some skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to figure it out eventually. Yeah. You have masculine TI. Do you ever get to a situation where you're like punching people in the face with that masculine TI?
Oh yeah, I think that's really the crux of most of my social problems. Everything's going fine until TI gets triggered, and then it's like people are like, we didn't know you were insane,
Yeah. Do you have an example of that insaneness?
I really don't. It's kind of, just at work in general, like when I'm here with other people, which now because of COVID, I'm only allowed to be here when it's closed. So I'm totally by myself, which is awesome. But when I'm at work with people, generally I'm keeping to myself or talking pleasantly with people. But if someone starts to do some sort of, somehow, despite my 10-year gap in learning IT, I'm still the IT lady in this office, which it's not a huge compliment. It's just an indication of how bad everyone else is at it. So whenever people ask me how to do things with the computer, how to fix the computer, and I tell them what to do and they don't get it, or they do it the wrong way or whatever, it gets pretty frustrating.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you are doing IT as your job then?
No, my job is bookkeeping and like insurance. Oh. But anytime anything breaks, like, it's a small office. There's like 5 of us here.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of my time fixing people's computer problems. Like, just like, I still don't know why my coworkers don't have like, I still don't know how they keep getting viruses. I have no idea what they're doing. Like, what is taking place when I'm not here? I have no idea.
People still get viruses?
Yeah, I know. There's a couple of them that it's like when you walk into the cubicle, you're walking into the 90s. Like, that's the, it just feels like you're stepping back in time. It's like, I've got viruses and I'm wearing a floral print skirt. I don't know.
Old people or something, or?
Yeah, mostly older people, yeah.
We're probably getting those emails that says like, you won $10,000, you know, like send us your information, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What they do to get a virus.
Right.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
You have masculine SI, so do you also find things to be personal for you, like your personal belongings and whatnot? Like, do you get territorial with things? Like, if someone doesn't return your stuff, you get like really pissed off, or?
That was something I didn't really understand or relate with necessarily. I didn't see, like, I'm usually really clear with facts. I can remember facts pretty well. And so I saw that maybe as like a demonstration of masculine SI. But in terms of stuff, personal stuff, I don't really have a lot. I don't get attached to items very much. Like, I would say my laptop and my flash drive are the 2 things that are really important to me. And if everything else burned, I wouldn't care. However, I will freak out. Like, if I think I knew where something was, like, I just had the half and half right. I'm doing things with my hands that you can't see. I had the half and half right here next to me on the table, and someone puts it away when I'm not looking. If I turn around and it's not there, I will kind of freak out about that. Like, who touched it? And sometimes it was me. Sometimes I moved it and then I came back and it's not there. And I'm like, who moved it? You know, so maybe some freakouts about that.
You're blaming the tribe for something you did.
I do that all the time. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You have double feminine play. Do you believe that? Like, what's double feminine play like for you? Your NF.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that explains why I am predominantly masculine with most people that I talk to. Generally speaking, I'm sort of like a masculine archetype, but like with my best friend and my husband, I do turn into a total girl, like a total, like, kind of flirty with even with my friends that are girls. I have like 2 that I feel close enough to be that way with. Yeah. That after I leave that space, I think, who was that? I was really a girl with those people, you know. So
that's hilarious. Well, do you like being in that role, or do you not like it, or it's fine?
I don't like it. I mean, I'm okay with my husband. It's fine if it's just him, right? Or maybe, like, my daughter freaks out because she knows me, you know, is like my normal behavior. But then when I'm at home with her and I get girly, she's like, stop it, you're freaking me out, right? But with anyone else outside of the house, I would prefer not to be that way. I definitely, afterwards, I'm like, that wasn't really what I was going for, right?
I guess, okay, that makes sense with your husband. And I guess with close friends, that's okay too.
Right.
It is a demon, though. It's your third animal. So
yeah.
You don't use it that often, then I'm guessing, just like with a select few?
Yeah, it's if I meet someone new, I will usually start out a little bit playful, just to sort of get a sense of what I'm dealing with before I commit to anything. And I think I get a lot of feedback, you know, a few days after I've met someone, where they're like, we really thought you were like friendlier. We thought you were a little bit more lighthearted, but after I get to know them and some time passes, it gets serious quickly, and they're kind of confused by that. Seems to be the case. That's the feedback I'm getting.
That's easy. I think it's probably because your sleep is double masculine and it's your savior, so that's what you're using, right?
Right. It's definitely there's like a shift, and I can feel it happen. It's like, I just met you, I'm being friendly, 15, 30 minutes pass, and then it just shuts off, and I'm like, just kind of dead meat, you know?
It's time to go back to your savior.
Right.
Your your energy meter for your demon has run out.
Right, exactly.
You are supposed to be energy dominant. Do you relate to that? Like you're always trying to conserve energy or trying to be efficient with things?
I didn't. I did think that I was info dominant,
Okay.
but if I just look at it in the most zoomed out way, I would say there's some laziness going on here, right? So if you want to just look at it as laziness, then yeah, I'm conserving a lot of energy. I'll do as little physical work as possible, as little interaction with the tribe as possible in real time. I didn't, now that I am writing a lot more, I realize how important it is to manage my energy. Anytime I'm trying to do something that is going to take a lot of sleep energy, I find myself getting very tired and frustrated pretty quickly. Yeah.
What did Dave and Shan tell you when you got their audio back in regards to being an energy dominant? Like, did he give you any advice about that or not really?
No, they didn't really say. I mean, basically, Shan was just like, she's like, you seem really stressed out with the chaos, which is why you're seeing maybe IJ, but it's just that you're exhausted. It's just that you're doing so much play energy, and as a mom and being married to an introvert, like really, I probably expend a lot more energy on the tribe than maybe your average INTP would. So
your husband is also an introvert?
Yes.
What did he get type officially, or do you know what? Do you have an idea what he is?
I thought he was lead TI as well, but it seems like the likelihood of that is so slim that I might find out he's something else.
Right.
More and more, I just, the more I learn about OP, like I wouldn't be surprised if he was just a super mopey EP kind of Obama style.
Right.
Because he does seem a little bit more comfortable with the tribe than I am.
I see. Okay.
What are you thinking? Tell me, because I don't know. I'm really curious about it as well. I'd like to get him typed, but he's not interested.
Well, I don't know. I've never spoken to him, so I can't really tell you.
Right.
I was just thinking, like, how do you feel being married to an introvert? Would you have rather him be an extrovert, like just to balance things out for you? Because now you have to take the extrovert role. It's draining you, right? So,
I guess just looking at the spectrum of extroversion to introversion, right? I'm kind of in the middle, and nearly all of my friends are more like super mopey. I tend to befriend people who are pretty mopey. I find that I don't do well with the energy of extroverts for very long, which seems obvious, but it's weird. Like you would think I would move more toward an extrovert.
Right.
So in a way, I don't know that I could handle being married to an extrovert, like a really extroverted person.
Yeah.
But it leaves huge gaps in our household. Nobody's really doing the play energy. Nobody's really, like, if left alone, we won't interact with the tribe for months at a time. We don't have, like, neither one of us really has friends per se. We're just kind of at home all the time. Like, this social distancing thing has been super easy. Like, nothing has changed,
Yeah.
So
that's like Dave, like when the coronavirus thing happened, he was like, oh, nothing changed for me.
Yeah.
I'm still at home. I was at home before, and now I'm still at home. So same.
Well, I think what's funny is, so I've been on mailing lists of various personality, like, websites, typology communities or whatever. And just in the last week, I've gotten so many updates and blog updates and emails from all these introverted people going, don't waste this, don't waste this time, use it for self-reflection.
Yeah.
Like, every typology community is sending out these blasty emails. Like,
yeah. And then you're thinking, I'm already doing that before this. So
yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Right.
Your blast last, do you feel like that's a problem in your life, or do you feel like that's been good, or like what's your opinion of having blast last, and how has that affected you?
I didn't believe that I was blast last at first. I think because I really don't have a problem talking when I need to, but obviously it's the narrowing down that's been such a challenge. And it is definitely like a demon that I didn't want to see. That was a little bit of a, because as a writer and as someone who tries to communicate for a living, you really need to be able to be clear and concise and get like the most effective message across that you can. And it's been a struggle, like narrowing. I spend a lot of time narrowing down my stories or trying to, for example, and it just seems like it is really more of a challenge than I would like to admit, you know.
Since we started this interview, you seem very much like play last for some reason.
That's what Benjamin said as well, and that's what I was expecting. I was expecting to be play last.
Why did Dave and Chan, did they mention why they said that you were blast last instead of play last?
Well, the reasoning that they gave me for being play over blast was pretty simplistic. Basically, Dave just said, you just seem a little chirpy, like you have kind of a chirpy energy, like a bird chirpy way of talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I can see that, but that's just, I expected to find out I was play last as well. So.
Well, I mean, they sometimes get the last two letters wrong, right? So.
Right.
Because they said they usually get like the saviors correctly. It's like the last two, like really when they narrow it down to the very end, that sometimes it's hard to figure out. Like even Benjamin, he's not sure if it's his official typing is what, sleep last.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
yeah. No, it's like he seems like he's blast last if anything.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't. Yeah, but yeah, it seems like since starting our talk here, I'm like you seem very serious, like play last almost, like
yeah. That is what I was thinking, and I'm to me the difference isn't huge really. They're both things that I struggle with. So.
Okay, fair enough. You have Saber Consume. What's are you just consuming stuff all day, like nonstop? Like you're just like a consume machine, reading books, articles, like listening to audio?
Yeah, I've it's a problem. I mean, it's something that I pretty early on in my life realized that I have a serious problem with. I'll tell a personal story. I had a roommate for about a year, and it was this was before I realized how important it was for me to have like a lot of alone time. Like I knew I didn't really play well with others, but just having her in the space all the time was so draining that I finally began to realize that this is serious, right? And I got super, like I basically lived that entire year consuming internet videos, just nonstop, only stopping to sleep. And that was, I think, 2008 maybe. And at that point, I cut off my internet and I haven't had it since, because it's just, I mean, it really is, I definitely see it as like it's a strength, but it's also an addiction, right? And there were things I wanted to accomplish. So I had to kind of shut it down a little bit.
Did you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish since you turned off the internet?
Well, initially what I wanted to accomplish was not being the worst parent in the world, because I homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
And so that, needs to be done. But now I'm writing a lot, and that's my goal, is to publish novels. So yeah, I'm working on it a lot.
Oh, you want to write stories?
Yes.
Like what kind of novel? Like fantasy novels or what?
Yeah. Of course, speculative fiction, right?
Like what kind of, like Lord of the Rings kind of style, or?
No. I definitely more of like the futuristic, like.
Sci-fi?
I'm sorry?
Sci-fi?
Sci-fi, yeah, aliens. I do have one weird vampire novel, but it's all sort of facetious, kind of tongue-in-cheek story. And then I have a couple of contemporary ones, but.
How did you get into novel writing? Like what made you decide to go that direction?
I was always really like imaginative. I mean, I spent most of my childhood, all my life really, like just thinking up stories in my head and just thinking through scenarios. And I guess at one point I just realized that I enjoy it more when I write it down because it forces me to focus and like really kind of savor every part, you know? So.
So you enjoy world building then and character building and like putting it all together into like a story and whatnot?
Yeah, there's less world building. I tend to take the sensory in particular for granted. Like I don't really write about the world that they're in. It's just throw the people in and see what kind of weird stuff shakes out.
I see.
Yeah.
You have feminine NE. Does that mean you forget concepts that you've gathered? Like all of
Yeah, apparently I do. I've noticed whenever I can, if enough time passes, I can reconsume the same stuff over and over again and relearn it or learn it in a new way, you know?
Yeah. I have the same problem as you with that like feminine NE.
Oh, you have feminine NE too?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because like I'll read something again later on. I'm like, I've read this before. How did I forget this? This is so important.
Yeah, exactly. Or I've said this before, but when I read through my stories, and I'm always really impressed by what I wrote. Like,
that's funny.
I'm like, this is amazing. Who did this?
But your memory for the sensory must be good then with that masculine SI, and it's also a savior.
Yeah.
Like you're good with numbers and detail and whatnot.
Yeah, always like really good at. It's like I was terrible at school because I wouldn't do homework, but always really good at just the test parts, right? Like I never really studied. I just kind of remembered what I learned and passed all the tests and stuff like that, and always been really good at math. And I would not have been surprised if my SI had been higher, because I was like, the Jeopardy weirdo and stuff like that, trivia.
all that random stuff.
Yeah.
You have feminine FE and it's your fort. So do you feel like it's kind of hard to tap into that, like dealing with the tribe, making sure that everyone's feeling nice and happy and like there's harmony and all that stuff,
Yeah, I prefer to leave that to the tribe as much as possible. I like people who can make a space emotionally comfortable and leave me out of it, like to walk into a space that like the people, like you're a comfortable person, right? Like that's probably a gift of like auxiliary FI or whatever. It makes it a lot easier. I don't want to have to try and make people happy myself. I don't know.
Oh, you mean because I have FI, it means that I don't feel obligated to make people happy. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I've noticed that the ESFPs and the ENFPs are comfortable to be around because they don't push the FE, but they tend to just be more comfortable, like emotionally comfortable themselves. Does that make sense? Like just with the vibe you're putting out.
Well, probably because we both have NE, right? So we're just using NE. We're just abusing the NE and, bouncing ideas and talking about like, stories, facts, logic, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a never ending bounce. So it's kind of effortless. Well, if you were dealing with someone that's, let's say an EJ who has FE and they're obsessing over how people feel, you're like, oh, give me a break. Like, what are you doing? You're like, this is not comfortable. Like you're just making it worse actually. And, like,
right.
Like let's talk about something that's interesting here. Let's talk about the information here. Like.
Yeah, that's such an interesting way of looking at it. I never really, it's like my perspective on FE is that people who use it are actually killing the vibe in a weird way. Like they're putting so much effort into it that you're just like it's awkward, right?
I think it's a nuisance, to be honest. Like it's annoying as hell. It's like okay, we don't need to be comfortable for things to work. We don't need to force harmony and force happiness.
Right.
If it's not a happy time, then it's not a happy time. If it's it's a happy time. Just let it happen naturally. You don't need to like force it, on the tribe, which is kind of annoying.
Right.
In my opinion, like obviously my friends who are FE gets mad at me for this. But for me, it's like, just do your own thing. Why do you need to care what like, the tribe is doing. I mean, obviously you do your best not to piss people off, obviously, but like,
right.
like you don't go out of your way to be a dick also, but like, but you also don't go out of your way to, force that FE on people because it's also annoying.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
But do you feel like, is that an area you want to work on though? Is like working better on your FE? Do you feel like it's way in balance, or do you feel like you don't really care to learn the FE?
I would love to say that I just don't care. And I think if I didn't have a daughter, that is what I would say.
Yeah.
But I have a daughter, and she's a teenager. And so it turns out that you do kind of need FE a little bit.
Yeah.
So she's been my, it's really been a long, I mean, she's lead FI, actually, I'm pretty sure. So she doesn't need a lot of FE, but she at least needs someone to be open to her like emotions when she has them.
Right.
So that's been a journey, learning to just accept the feelings and not try and shut it down, or
I mean, it's a tool, right? Like that could make you more effective, right?
Right.
Like, let's say you become a big time writer, and now you have to do like, I don't know, a book tour to sell your books or whatever. Then you have to be FEing all day, right? Because people, they want to see you, they want to get your autograph,
Yeah, that's the theory.
Yeah, because if you have a book signing, you're sitting there, and then you're like, you sign their books, like, okay, here you go, fuck off, next. Like it doesn't work, right? Like it's like
if I were smarter, I could find a way to turn that into my persona. Like people would pay for that.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, I guess if you do turn it to your persona, then somehow that becomes SF now, because that's cool, right? Like, so.
Yeah, I can't achieve that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't work for you though, because you have feminine FE, right? I think if you have masculine FE, you could pull that off, because then that's kind of like, oh my god, I can't wait for her to tell me to fuck off. But
right.
But you don't have that. You have feminine FE, so it's not gonna.
It's gonna be super like contrived and obvious, right?
Like, yeah. It's not gonna work.
Right.
You have to be friendly. You have to use like that NF play or something. What about Blast? Your Blast is SF, so like, I can't even picture you blasting SF. Like, how would you do that?
When I try and imagine it, all I can think of is just, and I mean, it's rare, like when I am telling my kids to like clean up and be nice to each other. That's all I can like think of, right? I mean, I almost never, I'm sorry?
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare. I mean, again, my oldest is 18, so I've had plenty of years to practice this. It's like, it's rare, but I guess one of my triggers is because I have a son who's probably the same type I am, or a very similar type, which is good. I mean, we get along perfectly, but he tends to kind of abuse my daughter with his TI, like, and try and like make her feel stupid.
Yeah.
And so on rare occasions, I'm like, don't treat your sister that way. I have no idea. I have no idea. What is SF Blast? I have no idea.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Oh, so one son, one daughter, one 18, one 16?
Right.
I see. So your 18-year-old is going to college then? Like this starting? I see.
He's a sophomore. Well, they were homeschooled, so you can start college whenever you want, basically.
I see. Oh, that's an interesting. So you have like a super introverted family. Like, cause it sounds like both your kids are some sort of IPs. Your son sounds like an INTP. Your daughter probably an INFP of some sort, or INFP. And your husband's also introverted.
My son might be an EP. He might be an ENTP, because he does seem a little bit more like a double observer. I mean, a double decider. But he's as introverted as I am, so it could be the same animal stack, something like that.
Oh, like a consume sleep ENTP.
Right.
I see. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is he into also? Is he like kind of like...
He's a programmer.
Okay. Okay. So NT, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, he's been like, he's the stereotype of an ENTP actually. Like when he was a kid, he would build games, like board games.
Yeah.
He always wanted to build games and he always wanted to make people play them. And so now he just does the same thing, but with video games.
Does he have play savior then? If he likes
No, because it would only be me, right? Like he would spend a week on it and then like, mom, play my game. But nobody else had to do it, right? I mean, he could be play, but he's just so mopey. I don't know how.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like he has the exact same animal stack as you, just different, like probably an ENTP or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. They said that IPs have trouble with pain, just like EJs do. Your pain would be coming from the FE then, the tribe. So would you say you try to avoid emotional pain that the tribe would cause you? Is that something that you try to avoid?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't see myself as a single decider. So I was really, because I see myself as much more fearful and anxious than afraid of pain.
Okay.
I have a lot of paranoia about stuff like airplanes and elevators and like real world, like kind of OCD. So I mean, that was another reason I was thinking maybe I was IJ.
Yeah,
but
it's like an IJ problem.
Right. But they told me I might have some IJ problems just because of the sleep second.
Yeah.
But after, getting back my type, I spent some time thinking about it, and, there's definitely some fear of tribe there too. So maybe it was something I wasn't really focused on.
Right.
But I don't, I don't know. I don't like it when the tribe is having emotions in general, especially if they're having them at me, and it almost doesn't matter if they're positive or negative. Like if it's coming at me, I tend to shut down. In terms of really being hurt by the tribe, I don't know. It's hard to say because I avoid the tribe so much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe I'm just trying to avoid pain. So
yeah, I guess that's something you should explore, like figure out, why am I avoiding the tribe? There must be like an underlying reason to this.
Right, that's what I've been thinking about ever since I got my type back. So
yeah, because like what would happen if you open it up to the tribe? Maybe it would be a different experience than you thought in your head. So you have consume and sleep as your saviors. Would you say, have you ever gotten stuck in a looping situation where you're like consuming and then you sleep and you're just like in this endless loop inside your head? You're not getting out there and not seeing reality. You're kind of stuck in this like fantasy world. Would you say that has happened many times?
That's my whole life. I mean, that's, I've just my interest in typology. There have been times when I think I gotta stop going down this road. It's time to like get out of the loop and, get something done or learn a new path, follow a new path, or learn a new skill or something. And like the next day I'm just back into it again. Especially I think I could be wrong about this, but I think feminine NE, because you can reconsume the same concepts and still learn from them.
Yeah.
It's not even like, oh, I exhausted that topic. If I wait 24, 48 hours, I can get right back into it. It's like, oh, I can learn it all over again. It's so fun. So.
Probably because you forgot some of the concepts already.
Right.
You are auditory. So would you say you're very good at music or learning through audio, like hearing someone talk or hearing a voice in general? Like is audiobooks one of the best ways for you to learn? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm podcasting. I mean, I listen to podcasts pretty much every day. I prefer the podcast even over the video with video. I definitely, I like in college, much preferred lectures. I wouldn't even necessarily take notes. Sometimes I would, but I just love that constant sound coming in, to the extent that, I mean, I don't want any audio coming in when I'm trying to sleep organize. So I'll turn it all off at that point. But I would say probably 70% of the day I've got some sort of podcast or audiobook playing.
When I was, I think I was when I was 30 years old, I was working for a commercial gym, and one of my coworker told me to start listening to audiobooks. I've never done it before in my life, but like,
Really?
yeah, I used to read a lot of books. But at that moment, it was a weird transition because like he said, if you really want to get good at this like selling stuff, I think you need to start listening to audiobooks on motivation and sales. And if you're commuting 40 minutes one way every day, which is like, I don't know, what is that, like an hour 20, like that every day, that's a
Yeah.
lot of like that's a lot of stuff you could be learning. I was like, okay, well, I'm already driving in complete silence because I don't listen to music when I drive. I might as well listen to something audio and let's see what happens. And I was shocked how much I was absorbing. I was like, oh my God, being like, I didn't know at the time about being auditory,
So you are audio then?
I'm the same as you, MF, right?
Oh.
Yeah. But like, I'm just picking things up, everything from audio. I'm like learning so fast, learning so much concepts. I would actually retain it too. And then I was like, am I an audio learner? Because like, like when you go to college, they always tell you, some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are, what's that?
Kinesthetic or?
Yeah, exactly. Kinesthetic. So I was like, I actually didn't know which one I was until like this happened. I'm like, holy shit, I'm auditory. And then when, like the objective personality came out and they talk about like audio, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm audio. I also work in the fitness industry. So kinesthetic. So I'm like, okay, audio kinesthetic. Okay, that makes sense. Everything makes sense. With that being said, you're also audio kinesthetic like I am. Do you like to exercise or no?
I don't like to, but I do it. So it is kind of a, it's like I'm aware of the necessity of it. I don't necessarily like it, but I do really like, it's been many, many years since I've done this, but I like sports. I'm not good at them, but I will still do them. Like as a kid playing like some basketball with just friends out front of the house. That kind of stuff I do enjoy, but only if it's no skill should be expected, right? If no skill is expected, I enjoy it like just for fun, but yeah.
But you can catch the ball, no problem, right? Like the ball's coming your way, you can catch it, right? If someone were to pass the ball to you while you're playing basketball.
I think I can catch it. Yeah. I don't know if this is peacocking or not. If I'm an INTP, this would have to be peacocking, but sometimes I surprise myself because I don't normally play sports. I don't normally pursue any kind of physical anything except just my exercising at home that I have to do.
Yeah.
So if we're just tossing a ball around, I'll surprise myself by making a basket or whatever. Like I didn't expect that I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it seems like something untapped and that I would like to learn more about. If I had more time, I might.
So it sounds like if you were to practice more kinesthetic stuff, you would get really good at it really quickly, just because it's part of your kind of the way you are, like how you were built. Like you were built to be good at kinesthetic genetically. Maybe you don't
Maybe.
practice it.
I don't know. With Demon SE though, it's like Shadow SE. It's a little. I don't know.
I don't think having SE or SI would make a huge difference in that sense. Like I'll give an example. Like I think David Shan typed this wrestler and MMA fighter, Brock Lesnar. I don't know if you've heard of him, but okay. Anyways, he's super famous in the fighting world. He's super famous, and he's SI. He has SI. He's an ESTJ with SI, right? So
yeah, that's true. I mean, Tiger Woods is an ISTJ, right?
Yeah.
Tony Hawk is an INTP.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't think SC or SI. This is what I noticed with SI and SE. I find that people with SI like to do the same movement over and over again, while people with SE get bored of doing the same movement. I work in the fitness industry, right? So my clients that tend to train with me long-term usually either has SI, or if they have SE, it's fourth. Because whenever I have a client that has lead SE or SE as a savior, they don't like to train with me long-term because I tend to give them the same exercises. And my reasoning for that is that if you keep changing the exercise every week, then you're not going to build on that muscle group or that specific movement pattern, you know? Like you can't keep changing every week. You have to stick to this one program for 3 to 6 months before you even think of changing. But if you have someone that has lead SE, they get so bored. They're like, I want to try a different movement, right? Like I was interviewing a guy, I think a few months ago, who was an ESFP. And I asked him this question. I said, well, as a lead SE, do you think that you get bored from doing the same exercise all the time? He said, that's my biggest problem with sticking with a program, is because he gets bored of doing the same exercise over and over again. He wants to change to different exercises. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to do a new exercise. I want to stick with the known exercise, you know? Like there's a set of exercises that's tried and true. They work. They're the best for you. They're functional, like squats, for example, or you know, kind of push up, whatever. And, you know, if you just did them for the rest of your life, you're golden. Like you don't need to learn any other movement patterns. But, you know, I have SI, so I'm just pushing my functions on people. I'm wrong, right?
I can relate to that because there was a time when I was all exercise videos because I had no car, I was living in the middle of nowhere. And even though I had a variety of them, I just picked like one or two that were my favorites that worked. And I would just do those same ones over and over again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to touch the other ones. They were weird or whatever. So.
Yeah. But the good thing about people with SE that I've noticed is that they can do crazy cool stuff. Like, you know, a lot of people who are doing acrobatic stuff or like dangerous like stunts are usually with like, or like, you know, let's say like doing a backflip over a cliff.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen an SI do that. It's usually an SE person that does like really chaotic, crazy, like stunts like that, you know? That seems to be like an SE thing, which I really admire actually, because I'm like, I don't have the guts to do that, you know? That's too chaotic from the sensory perspective, you know? Like
it's hard for me to watch those. Like I kind of get panicked watching them do that, you know?
Yeah. But there was a rock climber, which I think has lead SI. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Alex Honnold. I don't know if you've heard of him. Anyways, I'll give you the short version of this. So it seems like he does rock climbing without any protection, like completely exposed rock climbing. And he did this climb recently. He climbed this thing called El Capitan, which is apparently almost like a smooth wall or something. And he did it with no protection, right? In one go. So people think he's crazy. And like, if you watch it, you can actually feel your hands sweating because it's so like scary to just watch this unexposed thing. But he said because he's done it so many times through pure repetition and he's memorized every single like handhold on the mountain, every single movement has been memorized. It made me think, I'm like, this guy is an SI person. He memorized movement patterns on the wall. He just used a rope to obviously memorize it. And when it came time to the day that he would do it with no rope, for him, it was just another day. The only difference was he didn't have the rope, but he's already memorized all the handling, the footing, everything has been memorized. He knows it by heart. He can do it in his sleep. He's pictured it in his sleep. So I was like, okay, so SI people can do crazy stuff too, but they have to rehearse that crazy stuff like multiple times while the SE person can probably just jump in and wing it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's just.
So when you say no protection, are you talking about no like harness and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he had no rope at all.
I was thinking like no helmet, and I'm going, I don't know that a helmet would save him if he fell off of El Capitan.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, I mean he didn't. I don't think he had a helmet either. But
yeah,
he didn't have a rope, and like it was just him on this like smooth rock, and you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of people watched it in the theaters, and if you watch it in the theaters, it's even more scary because
it's huge.
Yeah, it's more intense and
it's immersive. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. All right, Maureen, I have two last questions for you, and then we'll wrap up the interview. So one of them is working on your FE something you're interested in, or not at all? Like, because from the sound of it, you don't even like it at all. Like, you hate it. But if you're following up, right, their underlying message is that you need to work on your demons.
Right, and I'm aware of the necessity, and so I will do it. because it's necessary.
Yeah.
I don't like exercise, right? I don't really want to, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
And that's something I struggle with, the OP community or whatever, when people get their type back and then just like double down on their saviors, like it becomes an excuse to just stick to your saviors. And I'm like, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at my demons and spend a little more time on that. That's but not because I want to.
Yeah. So you're going to begrudgingly immerse yourself in that.
Yeah.
Just because it's good for you, but not because you actually like it or care for it. Just like your exercise, just like exercising.
Right.
Gotcha. My last question to you is, I have functions that you don't have. I have FI and T. Do you have any questions about those functions specifically?
I mean, I'm really curious about FI because I feel like there's a core of that down in there, like way down at the bottom of the well. There's like a little tiny FI baby going like, don't hurt me, way down at the bottom. Like it took me years to find that. But I don't know if that's just a misinterpretation of FE, or if it's just being able to see more than just the 4 functions.
What's the baby like down there? Like, what is it saying to you? Or
like, yeah, like just like, don't hurt me, right? Like, just protect me. Like if it's all the way down at the bottom, then it's okay. No one can see it down there, right?
I don't know if it's FI per se, because if you're like, please don't hurt me is the voice that you're hearing. It sounds like if it's someone's gonna hurt you. And I think it's from the tribe. It's also feminine, so it's sensitive. So it sounds like it's FE.
Yeah.
I don't think it's FI, because if it's FI, it would be masculine FI for you then, because that would be your lead function.
Oh no, I'm not saying that I'm like definitely like lead FI or anything like that. It's more like just an awareness of those, that the feelings or whatever. I wasn't sure what that was.
I mean, you could argue that you're using your masculine sleep to protect yourself. It's kind of backwards, because they describe having a shield, like people with like masculine T or FE, they have a shield to protect that like feminine inside. But for you, it's like you have an armor that's protecting you, and then it's like, what is that FE then? Like, it's kind of confusing.
Right.
It's like your shield is the one that's scared, or I don't know. It's kind of weird. But for me though, FI is just me like kind of like looking at my feelings and kind of like understanding why I felt a certain way. Like let's say today I was offended by someone, right? And like I would just go inside my head and be like, oh, how come I felt offended?
Well, okay, so that's a good, I mean, to me, I think I do that.
Yeah.
But it's from a logical perspective, right? What reasons made that strange experience of having an emotion come out? And how do I stop it from ever happening again, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, but like what you just described doesn't happen to me though. Like for me, like, let's say someone offended me about something, then I might think to myself, I'm like, okay, it's because whatever that person said to me made me feel insecure.
Right.
And because that person made me feel insecure, I felt offended. So what I actually need to do to get over that insecurity is just to let it out, like put it out there so that it can get more beating from the outside world and I get used to it until it's no longer an insecurity. So I don't feel like I'm insecure about that anymore. So I just have to bring it to the light and don't let it like be hidden, Like
exactly. I think that's the difference, right? It's FI goes, what is that feeling? I will process it by feeling it, right? Whereas TI is like, what is that feeling? I will process it by rationalizing it.
Yeah, and I think I'm also trying to put a word into the feeling too. I'm like, what is my insecurity from? I was like, okay, so maybe I fear that this part of me will be exposed, and I don't want this part of me to be exposed. But I'm like, okay, but that's a defense mechanism. So if I don't want to be a defense mechanism anymore, I need to expose it. So let's go practice exposing it. Let's tell everyone this. Let's see what happens.
That sounds like the worst.
What's that?
I said that sounds like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like that's what I do as an FI person. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah. Anyways, that's about it for today's interview, Maureen. Thanks for doing this. Yeah. Do you have any last questions, or we're good to go?
No, we're good. Thank you.
All right. Peace out, everyone. Thanks again.
Bye.